I request all the speakers to be on screen so that we go. Hi Kumar, I will talk to you. I'm sure that you're all set.
Okay, so a very good afternoon, all of you, to this amazing session on design-driven entrepreneurship, a game changer for the student startups. We are so glad that you could make it, and your esteemed presence is going to be a booster for the students who are attending this conference. I would first like to introduce uh, Professor Dr. Neelam Saxena, who is the session in charge. So, Dr. Saxena, I'll also give a brief introduction of Dr. Neelam Saxena before she takes over and gives a welcome address. So, Dr. Neelam Saxena has got more than 30 years of career. She has over 30 years of her career spanning in industry and education, and she's currently working in Amity University, Noida, as professor and HOD of entrepreneurship development. This center cuts across the university to handhold interested students and offers certificate courses to the students. She has a double doctorate in chemistry and management. She's a certified entrepreneurship educator from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Along with this, she's also a certified entrepreneurship development educator by the University of Stanford. She has been selected as a mentor from among 10,000 women entrepreneurship programs for Goldman Sachs and London Business School, for Cherry Blair and London Business School 2011, and also for 64 women entrepreneurs for capacity building for suppliers at Walmart. So now I would very cordially invite Dr. Neelam Saxena to give a welcome address and open the session formally.
Thank you, Arvind, for such a warm welcome and introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed dignitaries on the dais, faculty, corporate entrepreneurs. Welcome to this 3-day conference on re-engineering higher education for students' progression. Skill sets that will dominate in the knowledge and digital economy, which is being organized from today to 26th June 2021 on virtual mode. And I, Dr. Neelam Saxena, Professor and Head of Amity Center for Entrepreneurship Development, welcome you all. With blessings of our Honorable Founder President Sir Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, motivation of our dynamic Chancellor Sir, and the able guidance of our beloved and able Vice Chancellor Madam, Professor Dr. Balvinder Shukla, this session, Design-Driven Entrepreneurship, a game changer for student startup, has been organized. It is a great opportunity for me to welcome you all to this extraordinary learning session. The world is changing and so are the ways of doing business. We are fortunate to be living in the era where innovation is encouraged and entrepreneurship is championed. The clarion call of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji to build a self-reliant nation or Atmanirbhar Bharat and the flagship government schemes such as Startup India, Stand Up India, Going Local for Vocal, and they are all driven to propel innovation, resilience, and sustainability, and to fix the long pending problems in our society through creativity and implementation. Design driven entrepreneurship is a system method of building enterprise by taking user centric innovation approach. Design is a process that provides clear competitive edge to the businesses and allows them to apply the principle of human centric in whatever they do. A design driven business aims to offer solutions to problem from the perspective of those facing these problems. The designers empathize with the user customer to understand the pains and gains, and a solid understanding of this problem comes through, which paves way to the insights, and this triggers the creativity to develop out of the box ideas. The ideas have been prototyped and presented again to the user for their feedback. This process is repeated until the responsible acceptability of the idea is established. So with this, design thinking gets to be an iterative problem solving process. Design-driven entrepreneurship is a systematic method for building enterprises by taking this approach. This is an innovative approach which gives clear competitive edge to the business and allows them to apply the business principles of human centricity in whatever they do. The purpose of this session is to understand the focal aspect of entrepreneurship through the lens of user-centric design, and we have eminent panelists who excel in the area of startup management, entrepreneurship, education, and design thinking. We welcome all our esteemed panelists to our conference. Welcome. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Neelam ma'am. Thank you very much, Neelam ma'am, for your motivating words and your inspiring vision about design thinking and how design thinking is going to change the world. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our moderator and our esteemed panelists who would be joining us for today's session. So, I would take an opportunity to welcome our moderator, Dr. R. Sujata. I'll also give a brief introduction about Dr. R. Sujata as well. So, Dr. R. Sujata is a professor in the area of organizational behavior, human resource, and entrepreneurship with rich teaching and research experience. Her current areas of research interests include leadership, entrepreneurship, team dynamics, organizational change and interventions, and strategic human resource management. She has to her credit 35 national and international conference papers, 45 published research papers, and cases both in national and international index journals. Recently, she has conducted a research project titled Determinants of Indigenous Leadership, Creating Typologies for Women Leadership in India, sponsored by the National Commission of Women, New Delhi. So, a very warm welcome, Sujata ma'am. So, Dr. R. Sujata is going to be the moderator of the session. And now I would like to introduce our esteemed panelists who would be joining us from the industry side, and they would be giving us their valuable insights. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Kumar Loganathan. Dr. Kumar is a senior innovator, entrepreneur, and a visionary who founded Albo Engineers in 2007. From the age of 20, he has developed groundbreaking inventions that have taken over by corporate companies. He has used his knowledge from his degrees in engineering, geoinformatics, and psychology to develop products and solutions that not only help customers' lives easier, but also help in creating a safer environment for our future generations. He has 14 years of experience with strong environmental awareness. He has got excellent research and development skills and an ability to find innovative solutions. He is experienced in navigating teams through changing business environments. He is passionate about intercultural. He is passionate intercultural expert with a blend of experience in research, teaching, product development, curiosity, imagination, design, analytics, public speaking, and management in international and diverse settings. He is a self motivated and an organized professional with over 4 years of experience, providing thorough and skillful support to directors. So, a very, very warm welcome, Dr. Loganathan. And your insights are going to be very, very helpful in this session. A very warm welcome. I would like to welcome Mr. Anay Pashruwala. I would now like to introduce our second panelist, Mr. Gaurav Yadav. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Deepak Singh. And now I would like to invite Mr. Ankit Tiwari. And now I would like to introduce Ms. Geetika Bhatia. And finally, it's me. I'm Arvind Deshmukh, and I'm the session planner. And now I would like to invite our honorable moderator, Dr. R. Sujata, to take it on from here. Sujata, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Am I audible, Arvind?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Okay. Some of the speakers we have already met, and welcome again back to Amity University. We have our own students here. It's such a wonderful feeling to see you as entrepreneurs, and I'm glad to invite you into the portal once again. I don't know whether I would be adding anything to what Dr. Neelam Saxena has spoken, design thinking process, but just to initiate the discussion, I just want to throw up a couple of questions so that will set tone and provide us a roadmap. Well, design as a word contributes to diverse meanings to different fields. Some of you are engineers here, some of you are from pharma. So for health, probably we speak about service design. Probably when we are going to talk about engineers, we are going to talk about system design. And probably when you're going to talk about design for public policy making people, they are more bothered about the planet, people, and profits and society. So design is going to fetch diverse meanings across the field. Then what is design for entrepreneurship? That becomes the fundamental question that we would be engaging to discuss with our initial phase of discussion. So is it something to make our customer pay? Because all of us are using the word user-centric. So for layman, I would like to say, is it possible to make your consumer happily pay for what you're going to offer? I mean, that's $1 million question. And if you have to make them happily pay out of their pocket, it makes you to go to market with the concept called empathy and probably define your problems and then create a minimum viable product and then get them understand that it's worth what you pay. So this is probably the first part of the discussion that we would be having. And at the second level, there is this contemplation always we have, all of you would have been mentoring students. When you became an entrepreneur, there is this dichotomous behavior. I have a passion at one side, and on the other side, I want to actually make money. So where is this convergence that happens? Because customer might not love your passion, and why should they even love? Because they're going to pay for it. So there is a question constantly that is hanging as a sword to an entrepreneur, whether you're going to be in B2B or whether you're going to be in B2C or probably you're going to be app-driven. In all the formats of business model, I'm sure that there is this passion and whether they will pay for your passion or you will have to change your passion, compromise on your passion elements. So all of that sets a pace as part of design thinking. So I think these are the two fundamental questions that made us probably design this topic, because when we go to the students, most of them who are trying to attend this are e-cell coordinators and institutional innovation cell members as faculties. We always have this contemplation. Students will never let loose their idea. When we say that go to market and then figure out whether it will work or not and create user-centric things, they will get back to us, and there is this self-serving bias. They will only believe that data that fits them. And they will say that, look, I would only pursue that. Probably the customer with whom I asked the question did not understand my product. So let me try my prototype and then go to market. So I'm eager to hear from, Ankit, or probably, when I was reading the profile of Kumar, there are so many patents and so many products that you've come up with. And I'm very sure that the passion versus, going to market with a design thinking perspective would have hit you at some point of time in your career. Well, this is what I thought my add-on to what Dr. Neelam Madam has already introduced. So this is, we expect from you that if you can give clarity to our students and e-cell coordinators and faculty members, researchers here on these aspects, it's going to definitely value add to us. With that, I would invite Anay, who is the session chair, to give a brief about the topic and then invite session speakers to deliberate on what is design thinking and how it is a game changer in entrepreneurship. Anay, are you there?
Thank you, Dr. Sujata. I'm here. I'm very sorry for my video. I'm actually at my client's place in a remote area of Uttar Pradesh where I had to come. I would like to talk in two levels and share my inputs in two levels. One is regarding the topic of this entire conference, that is re-engineering higher education for students, and then come to the main topic of today's panel. So my understanding is that if you look at education per se, it is consisting of three parts: knowledge set, skill set, and mindset. And in the world of education and world of information, the knowledge set is so easily available for everybody. What is required is to create a mindset and skill set of learning new things, because the rate of change at which the world is moving is so fast that the needed requirement happens to be this mindset of continuously learning and skill set of learning continuously new things. And this is a pivotally important thing for us as a country, because we are having this demographic dividend. If you ask me what is the demographic dividend, the demographic dividend of our country happens to be our students. And number of man hours that they are having while doing the live projects is in a way a demographic dividend. And the loss that we are incurring by not creating productive opportunities for our students' man hours of their education is a big thing. I have had my set of experiences of involving students in my company's projects and the startups that I mentored, and they have been amazing. My company's website has been revamped to the scratch, and it was not coming in top 10 pages also in certain categories. Is right now at 8th place since last 3 days, and the entire thing was done by students while they were studying, and without a single penny spent on AdWords. And when we look at design thinking and look at user centric design, this is also equally important, we as academicians, because our students are our customers, and our customers, we need to train our students to look around everybody as how will you create value for them, more importantly than how will you capture that value. And that's the crux of the matter. How do you create value? By creating something and by solving some problems, rather than offering the products or services that you want to offer. Make that bridge about what do you know, what do you love, and what are you knowing, and what are you having as resources, and what is that set of customers who need it. If you're able to if you're able to build this in the students, then tomorrow's world, tomorrow's demographic dividend will be great. And that is what is required right now. Design thinking is a very great word or a jargon, so to say. But if you dig a level deep, you will understand that in many ways thinking is about thinking. Literally, मतलब आप सोच रहे हैं. And what is design? Design basically means understanding needs of the others and trying to do something so that you are able to solve those needs, which is again thinking. So design thinking, the word says it's like sprinting, running, but there is a very monotonous bottom lining layer, that you need to put the user or the individuals at the center of your entire organization's existence from day one. And that is what is going to change everything, whether it is a startup trying to address something, whether it is an institution who is trying to create country builders of tomorrow, or whether it is who are going to and engineers who are going to design tomorrow's products. So for that matters, my submission to this August panel is that we as education providers, or we as people who are associated with academia and industry, need to bring in more and more students to come and participate in our projects or in our life issues, so that they are able to get much more better exposure and are more industry ready. They have the culture of learning new things. At the same point of time, I request the institutions and academicians to come join us and make sure that the education is not about just knowledge set, but it is about skill set and mindset more and more. These are my submissions that I'm putting forth in front of the panel and the audience. I would like to invite the first speaker. I think Mr. Gaurav has not, to the best of my understanding.
Yes, Mr. Gaurav is still not here.
Yes. We can go ahead with Deepak.
So, Mr. Deepak Singh.
Yes, I can. You all hear me?
Yeah, Deepak, you're good to go. We can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. I need a slide share, so I will be presenting a slide basically.
Glide accelerator and.
So just to correct, can you all see the slide? So I will.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So just to correct the addition which Arvind has mentioned. So I have recently been associated with a company called Tarento Technologies. This is with reference to project I Got. I Got project is for Karm Yogi Bharat. So that is where I'm currently associated. So I was basically an ex-Glide Accelerator CEO. But thanks for a good introduction. So I will start with this design-driven entrepreneurship, a game changer for the students. Now, this topic, when this topic was shared by Dr. Neelam Saxena ma'am, it was a wonderful topic because the design-driven approach which entrepreneur need to follow is very essential in this present moment of time amid pandemic COVID crisis that we are into. So I will just start giving about how to work on the design of a small business or the startups. So because when we are talking about entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship, we need to understand the basic design of this, what small business or the startup is all about. So basically, we see that it is a combination of three things: entrepreneurship, and the enterprise. So all the students must understand this thing very clearly, that who is an entrepreneur and what is the entrepreneurship and what is the enterprise. So entrepreneurs are basically the co-founders and the individual that make a team and start on some business idea, which would identify some unmet needs of the market and would look out for research, and they do a kind of a research level. And then when they make that into a prototype or a conceptualize into some business process or a business model, then it is called the entrepreneurship. And when this process starts to give them a kind of a commercial value, that is where they need to form an enterprise, the firm, which would have a basic business description. So we can say that small business is all about having entrepreneur which can create value, and entrepreneurship which can deliver value, and the enterprise which can basically capture value. That means an enterprise where you can look out for a commercial business. So this is the business model that entrepreneur or the student who are into the entrepreneurship, they need to follow amid pandemic. So this is what, as in the key focus area, the co-founder need to focus in the current market. So they need to focus on a new and unique business idea, technological innovation, commercial viable business, scaling up ventures towards growth, and ecosystem and social impact. So these 5 points are basically one of the points which is identified by the government supports any ecosystem. So let's look at, for starting any business idea, there has to be, it is the foundation of a great startup. So what and how these business idea would be, it defines the unmet needs which the entrepreneur conceptualize into a prototype, which is an outcome, has to be from the technological innovation side. And plus, it is also important to understand the demand and the supply relationship of the market to make a successful business plan. So generally, that is where the most of the entrepreneurs make mistake. They don't understand the business model, or they don't make a business plan out of the business idea, and that is where the business idea just has a very little value even after they have the technological innovation. And the last is basically they need to focus on the business execution, because business execution is the very important part. That is where it has to have a commercial viable business. It should give you something in return, as in when and it has to have a scalability of that particular venture. Now, this is the design approach which we teach, and I've been telling all the entrepreneurs in my sessions that technologies is something which is very important post-pandemic and has been important from the past so many years that we are into. Currently, like we talk about Industry 4.0 technology. So, and that is where sooner or later we'll enter into Industry 5.0. That is where so many other things will be revolving around technology. So if they are drafting a business idea, they need to focus on the technologies. And the second is basically the innovation. So once they innovate with these technology, they has to have some, product designed with this innovation and probably work on the patents. And that is where they can have those intellectual values. So when we combine these three things, this basically gives the foundation of a small business or the lean startup or the MSME or the SMEs. So all the small businesses or which an entrepreneur can actually enter, they can create value, deliver value, and in cash value with this particular business model. And exactly the symbiotic relationship has to be there between these three triangles. So now, as in when we look at the first three pictures of the design, entrepreneurship, and the enterprise, now there is three more addition to it. That is, first is the VUCA conditions. So VUCA condition is basically the uncertainties, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and the ambiguities. Now, currently, we are faced with the pandemic COVID crisis. So it's an uncertain environment. So if your business idea is not and has not worked on the factor like uncertainty, then probably your business plan or a business idea or the other innovation will likely to be basically fail. And when you take over, you understand what is this VUCA condition, you need to tackle all those VUCA conditions. That is where you need to focus on the technopreneurship innovation. So it's a combination, the business model I just had discussed with you, the triangulation of all those things. So, and follow the lean startups approach. Lean startup is where you have, where the startup entrepreneurs, they work on the research-based problem solutions. So that is where they define the problems and then they go for the research-based solution. And probably then the chances of having a success is greater. So these are few things which I have identified that will actually give the students to understand which are the areas they should work on the technology side. So if, like I mentioned, we are into industry 4.0 technology, so they should, plus areas are basically the artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, IoT, smart cities, edtech, virtual reality, health tech, biotechnology, cybersecurity, and conversational artificial intelligence. And the minus side is basically the clean tech, agri tech, rural development, social media, electronics and semiconductors, food and food processing, transportation, and automotive technology, or any other areas of social and national importance. So with this, I end, and I think I've taken the time with my limit. So probably over to the other speakers to share their insight. And thank you for this opportunity.
So Anay, can we invite the next speaker? I think Anay's signal has some problem. So thank you so much, Deepak. You managed the time so well. I can understand consultants speak less, and you exactly did that. So if people are interested, should catch up with Deepak, and he's going to help us understand the areas for technopreneurship innovation. Wonderful hearing you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I invite Dr. Kumar Loganathan, founder Elbow Engineers, to share your thoughts on the theme of the day.
Thanks for this wonderful session. I mean, you've designed it perfectly, I would say. Those two questions what Sujata ma'am has asked, it's intriguing, and I wanted to answer those questions, like especially for design thinkers. See, I go based on facts because I love science. Science, I mean, we are a product of science, I would say. Like, so all I believe in the world is science, meaning the experiments. See, the design, I would say, right from the problem, as Deepak was mentioning, how we need to go from problem to a product to an innovation to the market. See, for people like me, I always convert the problem into an equation. It's called math modeling. We do. That's how we design, like right from our childhood. If something you want, you have to ask, you have to design your question so that people can understand and then give you the answer. So right from the beginning, we all design questions or thoughts so that everybody can understand. So now in this era, I mean, everybody is talking about design thinking, and especially when it comes to the scientific community, we have to talk in the way where everybody can understand. If scientist wants to understand, we have to give it in an equation format. If the programmer wants to understand, we have to give it in a algorithm. We need to give a syntax. And if the common people has to understand, we have to give it in a communication language. It can be in any language. So this is how it gently designs. When we talk about children, I mean, how the children can take this idea of design thinking and they can implement in their life. What I do in the recent past is I talk to children. I teach them science so that they can understand. In terms of understanding the science, they can ask more questions to me. Neelam Saxena ma'am and Sujata ma'am knows about me and my company. I gently write questions. Like whenever I have a problem, I list out all the questions so that I can understand where I'm landing. Then I'll start giving the solution. Same way I'm teaching every students in school and colleges. I ask them to write 100 questions. Whatever the problem may be, let them write in 100 questions. And then they can figure out where the theme of the question lies. So people will figure out their design own problem and they solve it. So in that way, I mean, I'm able to communicate with them through my innovation, say example, one of my product which takes air and converts into water. So I teach them what is humidity, what is temperature, what is water, the basic chemistry. They will understand, oh, okay, this is nothing but the air is surround us, it's combination of a lot of chemical compounds with the moisture in it. So how do I tap it? So why do we sweat? How the water hits our body and converts into sweat. So all this has been thought through and it has been designed perfectly by our nature, by our environment. So that is the journey everybody has to go through. So like, I mean, we are experiencing, but unknowingly we didn't think that this is called design thinking. I mean, everything is design. We are thinking, okay, this is the design. Then we have figured out, okay, this is the pattern. Okay, this pattern. If I do the same pattern again, can I get the answer? Yes, of course, because it's science. That science needs repeatability. Unless it repeats several times, you cannot approve and say, okay, this works. In scientific experiments, we take number of trials and then we finally declare a paper saying, okay, this is the answer. Even if you do it in Delhi or do it in Chennai, we both get the same answer. So that's all I teach people. So that's how the design thinking works from my perspective. And I hope, I mean, everybody can synchronize or reciprocate with me in the thought. So the second part, ma'am asked me, how do you make money in this journey? Say example, I would say, I've given the technology, I've taught them the science, but how do I make money out of this? People who already bought it, okay, they have a need. See, I cannot do a marketing for this because I'm not good at marketing, but the whole idea is if I talk about science, people understand and they wanted to brag about it. They'll say, hey, I know how this machine works. Then they will communicate with other people and say, you know something, I mean, I know this technology, how this machine works. So when they communicate with another person, that person will come to know about my company and this machine. And that's how the marketing happens. That's how, I mean, I tend to make money, especially in the COVID. We're not able to sell anything. Still, we were supporting policemen, hospitals. We are giving our stuff because they need water. They need the basic essential stuff and they need to clear the air pollution, especially when we say we take water from the atmosphere. Everybody thinks, okay, COVID is spreading across. I mean, it's communicated through air. I mean, through traveling through virus and bacteria. How do I take water from the atmosphere? So that becomes a challenge. So we put it in hospital and other areas and we try to communicate them. This is how it works. But still people are skeptic about it. So what we did is we gave them a meters. Say, what is the particulate matter in your room? We started sending the meter to our customers as well as to people who are interested. We comes and chat to us in our website or in WhatsApp or in any other social media. We send them the device. They'll put their the small gadget in their house, and they'll say, oh, this is the particulate matter which is available in my area. How do I reduce it? We'll tell them, use this machine, which can bring down from this value. Say, example, in your house, maybe it's 150 micrograms per cubic meter. In a matter of 5 minutes, it can come down to 10. So in that way, if you eliminate this particulate matter, eliminate the bacteria, the COVID virus, the virus needs a medium to travel. So the medium is nothing but the bacteria. It invades the bacteria and comes to us. So when you eliminate this bacterial source, obviously you're eliminating the virus interaction with the human being. So when we said this, you won't believe it. In the last 6 months, we did almost 92 lakhs of sales because this one simple step we did. Because people are like afraid of this whole thing and they don't want to use this machine to take water. But when we said this can kill germs and bacteria in the air, with that process, you can produce water. You don't have to depend on anybody. You don't have to call that person to bring the water can. You can generate your own water in your own kitchen. So that's how I started making money. So through science, I would say, when you explain the concept, when you give the right information to people, people will come to us and we'll have that connection and we will go further. So to start with, this is my understanding of design thinking and how we collaborate with the customer and make money on the business. I hope to hear a lot from other people and waiting for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kumar, very nice. There are two things which, I'm sure my audience would have loved. The first one is the 100 question framework that you gave us. And the second one, of course, you said that I'm not good at marketing, but you have essentially understood to catch the pulse of a customer, and you have engaged with the customer, and that is pretty much business development all about, which you have already said. We will get with questions in the next level of our discussion. But I would like to invite Mr. Ankit Tiwari. Ankit, am I audible for you? Ankit?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So it is a very interesting, business model that you are in. Something to do with digitalization, education, especially for pharmaceutical sector. I mean, I'm sure the pandemic would have given you a lot of opportunities and scope, and I can see the smile in you. So I'm sure you're going to share your experiences of how did you use your design thinking, approach in building your business model. On to you, Ankit.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So this is one of the most interesting topic today we are listening, and it's a glad that I got an opportunity to present my own, you can say thinking process as well as whatever the design thinking steps are there. But I want to focus more on the real world, how exactly design thinking works. See, if we are not able to understand customer needs properly, sometimes there could be a customer or consumer for you, depend on your target. If you do not understand your need of the customer consumer very well, definitely you'll be out of market. We cannot be always put up our product or service like what we had done some research and we think this is the best, and at this price it has to be there. If we have such an approach, we know a lot of startups have been failed also in India because of such approach, where they don't want to bring some changes in their approach, and this change can be only brought by with design thinking steps. So there are a lot of case studies also on user centric, how you are why all the companies are user centric. We know Amazon and Flipkart and many other companies who are completely using AI and other techniques to position themselves as a user centric, and that's why they are getting very good sales also. So that's how we also even incorporated when I started this venture. So we always, whenever we want to launch any single course, we always take a sophisticated market research. We want to understand what exactly students are thinking of and what exactly they are looking for. That is what important for us. So let's say if I want to launch any course and I'm thinking like this is what I found as a gap without market research, definitely that could not be a exactly a requirement of the market. So we need to understand from customers and consumers point. That is how you have to be consumer centric or customer centric, and then definitely you need to render a quality in your service or whatever you are providing to your customers. That is also very important. Then you need to have very small steps to reach your goals. We cannot dream so much big and we just jump into it and definitely will fail it. So it is important that we should have very small steps and very small goals, and we need to achieve with 100% accuracy, or you can say effectiveness. Actually, when we achieve smaller steps, it motivates our team as well. That is also one of the most important thing which I wanted to share over here. Now the question was like how do we exactly convince or how do we are making money also. That was the second question put by ma'am. So actually if you want to convince, there's something called a few concepts like push strategy and pull strategy. So those who are not aware with the strategy, like push strategy, like if your product is not performing well, so you need to push it to the market, and if your product is performing well, so it is like pull strategy, people are purchasing automatically. So here what we are going to do, like we create awareness. Awareness is the most important key, which plays a role in terms of, you can say, selling your products or services, or in nutshell making money. That is the most important key. If your product or brand or service, it is not having enough popularity in this digital era, definitely people will not be able to understand what exactly your product is. And if you suddenly went to consumer or customer like, hey, this is my product and if you want to buy, this is what we are giving you offer, so nobody will buy at low cost also. So it's very important that you create an awareness. That is very very important. If people are aware with your brand, definitely they will not buy maybe initially, but definitely after some times they will always remember about your brand and they will come back to you. So once you create an awareness, then there is a next step. The next step is like you need to actually give a taste of your product or service to that target customers who know about your brand. So what we do exactly, once we get an awareness, we need to give some demonstrations or maybe some competitions or some access to our quality materials, that with what exactly they need to taste it, and they need to understand exactly like how exactly we have positioned ourselves in this competitive market. There's another concept like competitive intelligence, which we need to always keep doing once we are into the market, which will help us to make our money. And it's very important that you create proper awareness. We know a lot of concepts are like 4 P's and 4 A's, and a lot of marketing concepts are there, which are very very important for generating revenues and even penetrating into the market in this highly competitive era. Now in this pandemic situation, uh, when we suddenly just saw that pandemic and suddenly everyone thought like, okay, the business is going to shut down, we are not going to earn so much money, and luckily I was into this sector. So I know when I was in before pandemic, like in 2019 or 18, so almost for 7 years we had struggled so much, like convincing students, hey, this is our online platform, you can learn online. So people are like, no, we do not trust online, it could be a fraud or like that. And it was very very traumatic, that I was thinking that this is a future, but I'm not able to understand, is it really going to be? But when pandemic this happened, actually this benefited, I can say, to the e-learning platforms, even though we also got benefited. And I have seen that great change during that. And from that time our sales also goes high, and it went to high, and definitely a lot of trust and a lot of other issues which were there, it has been resolved. So it means we have to be we need to adapt also. It doesn't mean if in the e-learning platforms we are earning so much, it means if you are in the e-learning platform, so perception of customers are also changing now. We need to understand and we need to render services accordingly to that. So I think this is all about like what you need to do. And in this post pandemic, what I learned is in any sector you have to reimagine. Definitely you have to reimagine what are you going to do, and you need to adapt newer technologies if you want to be ahead in this post pandemic. And something called new normal, wherein the business process has become very very easy and faster, and less challenges are there to start with. As I told you, like before pandemic it was very difficult for me to convince, but after pandemic it's very easy for me to convince students that what exactly the online is. Some business has become very very easy to after after post-pandemic. So this is how we can focus on some other business, like a lot of mental health apps are been also there. So this is all about what I think.
Thank you so much, Ankit. It was, a real-time experience that we can actually hear from you. Knowingly or unknowingly, you actually, gave us this travelogue of traveling from, empathy to feedback. And in the process, you described that, pull and push strategies, which were very useful for you, and how you actually, made your customer aware in order to bring them back to understand your portal. On a lighter note, yes, pandemic was an opportunity for you, but I think your 7 years of your, analysis of the market have actually paid you back, and today you have a market fit product. We are very happy to hear the design thinking process that you have used in your own business. Thank you so much. We will get back to you with questions. I have Geetika Bhatia with me. Geetika, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So, from being into a fully paid salary, then moving into venture, then selling it off, becoming a serial entrepreneur, then getting back into consulting. So there's so much of design thinking even in your personal life. I'm sure you would have used. So thank you for joining us today. We would like to hear from you on the theme. To you, Geetika.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for that, and thank you for having me here. Absolutely. So, given that I have in last 6.5 years, I have had a 360-degree round from corporate to starting my own venture firm, and now acting as an independent consultant to few of the corporates across the globe. It allows me a different spectrum to understand design thinking from a different lens altogether. And I would say I have been fortunate enough, given these opportunities in my life, to touch base a little bit on the theme. What I would like to state in 3 simple words would be that design thinking is all about delivering value, meaning, and engagement. So these 3 words is what I have understood after every theory, after being across every sphere of my life. These 3 words are the core of what it means to actually deliver to the consumer what they need. And when you, ma'am, when you rightly mentioned that when they're actually happy paying you for what you asked for, rather than negotiating you to the last breath, they are actually happy giving you what you want. To delve a little bit further into these 3 words, what I'll do is I'll try and pick common examples that can throw a bigger picture across value, meaning, and engagement, what I'm trying to say here. So let's pick pandemic only for that manner. So when the pandemic occurred, the first wave occurred last year, the entire shift was definitely, it was towards digital first. Your logistics, your supply chain, everything started moving further. People started hoarding a lot of material in their house. Their thinking, their preferences, everything changed. It was a shift, as what the researchers are saying, that we have actually moved 10 years in advance. Just because of this pandemic, we have taken a 10 years shift, what we couldn't have actually done in next 10 years or so, for that matter. So for most of the brands, be it your grocery or be it fashion or be it any brand, first thing that they did was to actually change the strategy of how they were approaching GTM, their go-to market. So, for example, we have seen that Zomato started, Zomato started putting more focus on delivering your health supplements. They also started, so while Zomato is a food delivering app, they started a vertical in which they said that we'll also be delivering the grocery. This is, I'm talking about March 2020, when our honorable Prime Minister just announced that, there will be a full country lockdown, and such situation is something that we have to cater to. At that point, all of the unicorns and all of the well-funded startups stepped out of their set in stone vision statement to think differently, because that was something which was not an expected situation, but that was something that demanded agility and lean thinking at that point. And that is the core principle of not being set in stone of what your vision statement or mission statement bring about, but actually moving forward as to what market is actually expecting of you. So that was one of the thing in terms of delivering value that I was talking about. Delivering value starts from empathy, empathizing with the market needs, with the customer needs, and empathizing by actually being in the shoes of people who are suffering, which is, generally your middle to higher income class of the country. Coming to the second point of delivering meaning. So delivering meaning, if I have to come in the aspect of bringing it from the example standpoint, so delivering meaning would come from the fact when somebody is, let me think of an example. So for example, Amazon. So Amazon has been one of the company which has been serving, your one-day delivery to Prime members and everything, and being the richest company and being the top of the company across the globe, they have that kind of resources that they can shift very quickly. But having said that, Amazon has taken up to its mark to make sure that it's venturing out into different aspects for the pandemic. So, for example, we have heard that Amazon got into education. So, EdTech was one of the vertical that we saw Amazon getting into during the pandemic. And that was the time when a lot of colleges and a lot of schools were suffering, and a lot of students were suffering for not being able to gain their education or even go for their examinations. So that was the time Amazon came into being, and that was one of the things that they were not doing to, while obviously at the end of the capitalist mind, it's all about economy and everything. But that was one of the vertical that they did to show that we are here for our prime customers, we are here for our VIP customers, no matter what. So while you look at us as an e-commerce online shopping marketplace and everything, if you are facing problem, let's say in XYZ area where we are not, we will come forward and make sure that we are helping you. That's aspect of delivering meaning. Third, from the delivering engagement standpoint, so that's something that I would say that every firm and every startup has been doing, and especially a lot of non-profit organizations. So delivering engagement is all about building a community. So telling your consumer that it's not just you alone. There are thousands and millions of other people also going through the same pandemic, going through the same problem. So it actually brings down to the point of building a community on top of it. And that's something that we have actually started seeing across all the startups. So for example, Cred. So Cred is a company, it's a fintech company in which you get points for making payments on time for your credit cards. But I'm sure that if you have seen their social media strategy across Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere, so they do not have their company page. What they have is a cred club. What they run on social media across is a community. They are not out there promoting that, okay, we are giving you cred coins, we are promoting you this is what we serve and everything. So they are out there to build a community, and that's the strategy that they play on, which is what I'm trying to say by delivering engagement. So when I talk about design thinking, so delivering value, meaning, and engagement is what I comprise all aspects of it. This is something which has helped me drive my own venture last 2 years in terms of understanding the consumer needs, in terms of having a better product market fit. And this is also helping me currently to consult a lot of brands and a lot of retailers in terms of how they should look at the next normal. So, yeah, so delivering value, meaning, and engagement is what I summarize design thinking with. Thank you.
Wonderful. I mean, Geetika, it's a very new thought process that you've brought in to most of us who are here. We will start thinking in terms of, value. Most of us knew, but delivering meaning. Today, I could hear this delivery meaning from probably Dr. Kumar, even Dr. Ankit was emphasizing on delivering meaning. And I'm sure that this delivering meaning has, been identified to be one of the most important or a critical factor when we are not meeting a customer face to face. I think this is something which digital disruption has got to us during these pandemic times. Thank you so much. That was really nice. A quick run through. What else we can ask from each one of you? The way you opened up the topic, Anai spoke about mindset and skill set, which is something most of us as entrepreneurs should concentrate on. And then truly speaking through this design thinking process, when we travel, I had Deepak helping us understand what is technology, and without technology, how businesses will not survive. So it's about ideation as a process, or if you want to go to market, it's very important for you to actually nurture technology within your organizations, and then from there on, teach the science behind the product is what Dr. Kumar said. The costs, I'm sure, yes, there is this simple thinking of a human being. Why me? Why should I do? And it's good, when we hear Simon Sneak in his conversations, he always say, ask this question of why, then understand the what and the how. And I think asking why triggers a lot of, solutions. You go more customer centric when you ask this why. And moving from there, we had Ankit who spoke about awareness and push strategies to the market. And nothing more to ask again. Geetika closed it with a wonderful note saying that it's all about fetching meaning and engaging with your customers. Now we are up to questions to the speakers. Anai, can you hear me? I'm sure Anai can hear us.
Yes.
The question that probably we would... Wonderful. So, Anai, you are a teacher, but more than that, we look up to you as a owner of a business, the vast experience of 14 years, and you had been hand-holding so many startups in your stint as a member of incubator. So, we would like to hear from you. Have you witnessed this user-centric design approach being followed among your startups?
Thank you, sir. That's a wonderful question. And these were some amazing thoughts from all the panelists. I mean, I really loved the inputs given by everybody. And I would like to give an example of my company's response, first of all, and then one of my startups' response to the pandemic. So we manufacture industrial valves. These are basically engineering components that are used in heavy chemical and mining sector in the piping process system. Now, my basic raw material happens to be castings, and I'm based out of Ahmedabad. So, in the first wave, all the labor force, which is from the eastern part of India mostly, left. So, my basic raw material was not available. And in the second wave, oxygen was a big problem, which is a raw material for my suppliers. So, basically, without raw materials and being so fascinated with JIT, it was a pain for me to even operate. While doing that, I also understood that my clients are also facing a lot of problems because they are not able to get the basic piping equipment. But then here came an opportunity for me. We found out that there is a need for services and services of this piping process components, which nobody was giving at a good price point, or many times nobody was giving. And we started venturing into services. And As a matter of fact, because of this being user-centric, understanding the needs of the client better, we were able to come up with an entire vertical inside our organization. And we are proud to say that we are now growing back to our strength as far as supplying products is concerned, but having an equally powerful vertical in services, which is having much more better receptivity from our clients. So this is one classic case of user-centric design for my own company. When I talk about startups, many of them had an existential crisis in the pandemic, and and everybody needed to pivot. Everybody needed to do something in the matter to such an extent that many of them had to deliver and re-engineer their services. One such example, which is very successful startup, which has already got around 3 crores in grants, just grants from various agencies, was developing and providing products for helping blind people walk. Now, because plastic was not available, because raw material from China was not available, his existence was a question mark. So he started developing, what can I do as a service for these blind community? He enrolled this community and created call centers to which they can operate. He enskilled this community and developed a wide array of solutions, because his intention was that he wanted to make these blind people empowered, and that was his basic goal. And he was able to do that in multiple fold by offering a variety of services to a lot of people, including counseling, including home yoga sessions, home physiotherapy sessions that the blind people can do in a very good way, cooking. Now that's the beauty of it. His initial approach was product, but he understood that his vision was, how can I help these people, this community, and he was able to find not many things by doing this. Very humbly, the startups that I have mentored have raised somewhere around 60 odd crores till now, and have filed and have been 60 plus IPR granted, not applied. I repeat, granted. And everywhere that we talk about, the idea happens to be that, is it creating value for the clients? Is it creating value for the customer? And then we go for IPR. And that's the basic bottom line on which, that's the foundation stone on which any startup that, or my own company, we survive and try to grow and expand. I hope I've been able to answer your question, Sujata ji.
Yeah, it was right that, when you were talking about your own startup and how did you manage your oxygen cylinders, to when you were in your mentoring, how this the student startup which was making spectacles, today their verticals include counseling and whatnot. I mean, that's nice. That's how you add on to your value chain of the business. Thank you, Anai. Now I have a quick question to Deepak. Being a certified trainer and now into consulting, and we would like to understand from you, students' entrepreneurial skill sets can be developed as one part of the argument. Most of us feel that yes, we can develop it, but then we don't want to start and then stop ourselves with mindset. We wanted to actually move beyond building mindsets and making this startup to be a reality. So in this process, can you share your experiences, Deepak, as to how do we go about, creating conversions from mindset to startup?
Yes, ma'am, I can do that. And in fact, very good question. In fact, I was actually expecting this question. So I would just request to share one slide. Probably that will give you a very good understanding as to what is the approach strategy. The student.
Welcome.
Yes, ma'am. So yes.
Yeah, do you have a sharing option with you, Mr. Deepak?
Yes, ma'am, I have it.
Yeah.
So I will just share this particular thing which we tell all our students or the entrepreneurs or somebody who is actually into the entrepreneurship process to follow these particular steps. Now, these particular steps is something, it's a kind of a mantra. So now, first thing is basically, when I mentioned about the business idea related to demand and the supply, so that is where initially first thing they need to focus before technical development is the business development. So if they don't focus on the businesses first, so that is a very essential key component. So first thing is the business development. They should have and identified the business market, where they will sell, where they will look out for their prototype testing, what will be the result, how they will improve those things in the product. And the second is basically, when they have done this business development exercise, then they need to focus on a technical syndication with some big corporate for development. So that's their approach. They should first is basically they would go for a lean approach method, and then they would syndicate with big corporate so that they would invest in their business idea. Now, when they have this investments done through some big corporate for the technical support, so that will be the under the umbrella, they will be doing all those technical business development and syndication, looking out for the prototype testing. And when they have done that, when they have grown up, then they would, third thing is look out for a small business ecosystem support. So that is where they approach basically the accelerators, the incubation centers, or the government supported programs like IIC or the Amity University as an Amity accelerator. And the fourth is basically, when they have a good support from the accelerators or the incubation center, they would look out for a business communication. Business communication is where they start talking about their, what is the innovation they have done, what product they have made, well, how it is going to solve the problem. And then fifth, they should come out with some good technopreneurship innovation, a USP to scale up and collaborate with partners. So with example, let's say currently, like since I was into the startup ecosystem for more than 4 to 5 years, so that is where we tell all the entrepreneurs, so look out for those corporate syndication, so that you would not look out for money not from the investor, rather you would have a proper business model, so that you'll be under umbrella. And the last is basically the government support for startup syndications. So that is where, when you're actually looking out for an ecosystem impact, so that is where you look out for the government support. Now, how this thing actually works, so basically it's the process, it's a very research based process. So there are different stages of life cycle of the startup, which is given by Harvard Business Review, Churchill et al. So it's a 5 stages of small business model, and then it is converted into the life cycle. So basically, initially the x-axis is basically the time the startup need to invest in the business, and y-axis is basically the growth, the delta G. So every business or the startup would definitely look out for a growth model. So we suggest, as in they would focus area should be more towards the growth, because without commercial entity, without commercial business, it's not a startup, or it will not scale up, and it likely chance that that is when 90% of the startup fail, because they don't understand the life cycle. So that is where we say that at stage 1, when the startup co-founders enter into business, they do a lot of bootstrapping, take the money from friends, family, relatives, and that is where they start investing. So that is where they go into the declining curve. And if they don't follow the proper model at stage 2, they're likely that they will go to valley of death. So that is where stage 2 is something they need to very focus on, and that is where a lot of strategies fall, and then they reach to a break-even point. So I will not go much into the detail of the other thing, but I will say that stage 1 is something where they need to focus on things like, they need to understand what is the poor, whether they have the inhibiting factors like poor product market fit, bad product, whether they have not identified the right market and they have lost the product, or if there is one more thing is that team there is a team syndication missing or a missing entrepreneur. You have a technical entrepreneur, but you don't have a business or entrepreneur, or the vice versa. But at the stage 2, you would see that all the enablers would be something like marketing mix strategies, incubation support, business model, or business descriptions. And once you reach a break-even point, then there is always good growth and venture and probably the startup scale up. So I think, ma'am, that answers your questions.
Yeah. In fact, the model that you demonstrated to us had a couple of points which is very thought-provoking and as well fitting to the theme of this conference, which is build syndicates. I mean, the word syndicate by itself has its various meaning, but then we don't extend our hands to collaborate and ask for funding or look forward for sharing our ideas with the corporates. I think yes, today there is a lot of scope. So many companies have come up with funding processes within their corporations, and they want to encourage young entrepreneurs. I think yes, that will help people to translate their ideas into real-time startups. Yes, industry, academia, partnerships might even bring this into practice. Thank you so much, Deepak, and thanks for sharing this Churchill's model. When we all started our entrepreneurship education, and this model is one thing which every student of entrepreneurship should understand, and I think that will keep them uproar, understand that this is value of death. I will go through this, and there is a lot of resilience that startups will practice. Thank you so much for reminding us about the Churchill model here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
The next question, it is very obvious it's going to be to Kumar, Dr. Kumar. This element of asking questions, I mean, that triggered me to put up this to you. The education system at some point of time and has always been criticized that we kill the creativity of the children because there is this fear of unknown. I mean, I don't end up asking questions because there is this fear of unknown, there is this fear of criticism. How do we therefore even expect these children, students, potential entrepreneurs to imbibe this quality of asking questions? I mean, unless you don't ask, you will not empathize, right? You have to actually seek to empathize. Now, how do we do this so that it would contribute for the out-of-box thinking process of a venture? So, is there any quick practice that you did so that it can be trained among budding entrepreneurs so that they learn to ask and seek?
The quick answer would be like, it's about the embarrassment. When you ask question, people think, oh, it's a silly question. That's the first thing that comes. Okay, everybody knows, it's so obvious, but I don't know the answer. But if somebody asks, they'll feel. But I don't think in the world there is no silly question. The intention may be silly, but I won't say, the question is silly. Question is always a question. You have to answer that. So in that process, so what I went through in my childhood is like, started writing. Instead of asking people, I start writing questions. I accumulate questions. So I end up in seeing my own questions, solving my own problems. So the question itself will lead you to an answer. As you said, asking funding is a question. Like, can I ask fund for someone? But it's a necessity. When it is a necessity, when people know that is a necessity, then you won't hesitate to ask question. Because everybody thinks, okay, if I ask question, either they will embarrass or they will give a punishment. Say, when you make mistake, when you have to allow people to make mistake, especially children. If you stop them in making mistakes, then they won't ask question, they won't do any action. So I would say, from my personal experience, start asking questions, inside, wrote them, and then understand the theme. Based on the theme, I'll start applying them one by one. So, if I want to explain slightly to elaborate that point, see, basic 5 senses. Based on the senses, I put a theme. In one day, I want to feel everything, like touch, how each and everything feels. I start to note down, because the first question is, if I touch my mother, how do I feel? That question comes, no? Like, do I feel secure, happy, loving? Yes, that's the emotion. As you said, I mean, I have to have that emotion. So that's one sense I need to feel. But this cannot be asked to someone. Mother, I mean, do you love me? Do you care for me? We cannot ask, but mother will get offended. So people will get fear. Are you silly? I mean, why do you ask such question? But if you have that question, if you start feeling that through your senses, then you will know, I mean, or you will have that answers. But that you have to nourish it from the childhood. So, I mean, this goes into psychology, like trust and mistrust, but the whole idea is like, you have to experience it. Your questions also has to be experienced and then move forward. And one more thing, like I thought about, like before starting in business, unless I'm obsessed with something, I cannot do it. Like if I want to do something, I'm so obsessed. Even if somebody stops, I have to do it. At the same time, I should not have a shortcut or exit strategy for that obsession. Then you won't do it. You won't end up in doing that. So I would say, I mean, you have to deliberately ask. Anything comes to your mind, don't feel embarrassed at the end of the day. So that would be the quick answer.
Lovely. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, this is a very new spin-off. We never expected that this kind of an answer is going to come in. But yes, of course, there's a lot of psychology into it. Cognition starts from sensing data, and a lot of us, I always say, we are data-rich, information poor. I mean, I think that happens because we don't try to interpret things, and we don't try to make sense out of what is around. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. I think every entrepreneur should open up their sensitivity to even start with this design-centric approach of thinking. Thank you. Great answer. Now I have a question, an obvious question to Ankit and Geetika. You can take it one after the other. You were a student. So what is this quick advice that you will give? As a student, can I launch a startup? And is it necessary? We keep hearing from children that, why not I work for 2 years? Why not I work for 3 years? Then I'll come back. I'll do my startup. I have an idea. They will do everything fantastic. It will go almost, they will, be at that paddle to go to market. Then there is a doubt. Do I have to work for a corporation, gain experience, and then come back? So what made, Geetika, you actually had a corporate stint and then you came back. But I see Ankit's profile, and there was always a passion that you started in the beginning. By the way, Ankit, your company's name is very good. I mean, when I saw, if time would have permitted, I would have had a discussion on that also. Community Pharmacist Aid. I mean, that's a very nice name that you have. So you were a student entrepreneur. Geetika passed out, came back to be an entrepreneur. So let me first hear from Ankit, and then let me hear some premises to my claim from Geetika. Ankit, to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So yes, the name is so good. So thank you so much for this. Actually, we framed this name because during when I was in my B Farm pursuing from AIP Lucknow. So at that time, I just launched one Facebook page, and I was just thinking, let's do something, because I wanted to do business only. And I just started getting some awareness, but then somebody said me like, why don't you start giving online, education, because there are a lot of coaching centers in different cities where we need to travel, or sometimes we do not have even coaching centers nearby. So why do not you come up with something called e-learning platform, something online teaching? Here, this was my motivation. I started thinking, yes, that could be a future. And then suddenly I just went to my teachers and I just shared my idea, like if this could be a future. Then everybody, teachers all supported me at that point, and then they suggested me, and they give me a link to, our seniors who were pursuing some masters, and they were having their own ventures. So they provided me a link to them, and then I learned a lot from them, from my seniors. that how to get online learning platforms and how to even start, because like ma'am said that right now we were at this point we think like shall we go for corporate job or shall we go for business, because first we need to have some experience, then we need to come up for the business. So that's exactly mindset at that moment I was also having, but then I made a mind that I have to go for business because this is something new which I am learning and I'm enjoying even. Then with the help of my seniors and teacher in the amity, I started my this venture, and there's a huge journey which I can summarize into my own learning. So I would just like to get a permission if I can share my screen and I can show
Ankit, we are running out of time. We have already run out of time.
So Ankit, sometime
okay, it's a single slide if might be true. Okay, sure.
We would invite you again, and then I think we would sort for a platform. Sure. There is so much of passion we can see. We would like to definitely hear. So what I hear from you said was, yes, when you were pursuing your education, start your own venture. There's a lot of learning. Gitika, a quick answer from you. How should it go? Start or wait?
Sure. Absolutely. So, ma'am, the quick answer would be that an entrepreneur always has to be in a work in progress mode. So it cannot be, a start or an end. It always has to be WIP, even when you are at a seed stage or you are a unicorn tomorrow. Because if you do not work with that mindset, then it's not an entrepreneurship journey. Having said that, it's important to know that this is what goal you would like to achieve, what mark that you would like to make, what dent you would like to create in the world. And after that will come the areas where you lag. If you think that's an area that you can improve from virtual course, online learning and everything, that's okay. But if you think that areas is something that you have to work in an accelerator program, if you have to work with another startup to learn from, or if you have to work in legal and finance department, if that's the area you lag in, then you have to take that motion. So it's all about being in that WIP mode and knowing what is missing for you to make that dent.
Thank you, Gitika. I mean, that's a very quick and short answer. I thank each one of you here for taking up the questions from me. We would definitely connect again, and there's so much to learn from each one of you. Every time I talk to you, there's so much new that's coming up. Handing it over to Dr. Neelam Saxena, Madam, for a quick sum up and thanks. Thank you all. Great conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Sujata, for such a wonderful session being put together. With the blessings of Honorable Founder President, sir, the versatile leadership of Honorable Chancellor, sir, and worthy guidance in support of respected Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Dr. Balvinder Shukla, the entire management team of Amity University, Director and Dean of FMS, Dr. Sanjeev Bansal, esteemed faculty members, directors of various institutes, their faculty members, administrative staff, supporting staffs, dignitaries on the platform, participants, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Neelam Saxena from Amity Center for Entrepreneurship Development, and on behalf of the organizing team of Design-Driven Entrepreneurship, a game changer for student startup, the entire, let me call it a fraternity of amity here together, and on my own behalf, extend a very heartfelt thanks for all those gracing the occasion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels of the car started moving months ago when our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam, conceived the idea of this 3-day international conference on student procreation in Amity University. Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. And it requires planning and an eagle eye for details. And let me tell that there were many people who moved beyond their comfortable zone to put this all together. I would like to record my deep sense of appreciation to the panel who have spared their valuable time. Mr. Anay, your talk on mindset, skill sets, education at the click of mouse, so as to capture the value of creating and offering to meet the customer need. I can go on and onto it. Was very insightful. Thank you very much. Mr. Deepak Singh, your business model and design thinking, emphasis onto it, gave a different perspective to the whole discussion. Mr. Ankit, okay, thank you very much, Mr. Deepak Singh. Mr. Ankit, your real world design thinking, working and emphasizing on the need of the customer was very well taken. Thank you for sparing your very valuable time. Mr. Kumar Logathan, your importance of design in various arena and taking design thinking up to the education level and the emotional cognitive thought process was very well appreciated by the participants. Thank you for your inputs. And Gitika, you are a very versatile speaker. You spoke a lot on delivering value, meaning, and engagement of design thinking with various examples. And it gave a different perspective to the track in which we were speaking. Thank you very much. My staff, Sangeeta Chamoli, without her coordination, this would not have been possible. Mr. Arvind Deshmukh, who is the session planner, was working tirelessly to step up and give the shape to it. Our moderator, Professor Dr. R. Sujata, whose inputs have added value of the track and has taken out time from her busy schedule. We are very grateful to all for putting this platform together. Lastly, this experience would not have been possible without the IT team helping us do it. And extending my heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for being over here. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.